Hello, good afternoon. Hope everyone's well. It's Pranandar from here. Thank you for joining us. And we're going through... Oh, I've just noticed I haven't changed my title from last week because this is going to be a slightly different demonstration. Just check everything's working as it should be. Yeah, I can hear myself, so that's a good sign. Few little changes. Camera might seem a little bit different. It's just a different lens. Probably seems the same. I've got a few different spoons that I'm working on. I've positioned the camera differently as well. Any issues though, let me know, because it's always worth knowing. Yellie's just walked in. Good afternoon.
Hello.
Hello, Yellie. And yeah, I got one spoon in the vise here, but if anybody'd like to see anything different, basically I got three, I'm going to cover up the details there. I got three spoons. That one we got a thistle and a daffodil on, and some leaves and some sort of wheat and a flower, some acorns. So that's one spoon there that we could possibly have a look at. I got this one here with the lovebirds and the house on. That's another one. And then this one we're working on. Yeah, I got this one in the vise. If you'd like to see any of the carving on the other ones, let me know and we'll have a look at it for you. So what we got on here, we have a maple leaf at the top. So that's the maple leaf there, you can see. And we have the initials together, the games controller, and a dragon and a twist. It's the same sort of thing as highlighting really when it comes to the Lovespoon, how you basically carve whatever you want to. There's no rules or regulations, so you can combine symbols that are significant for others into the design that you're doing. I've just noticed on the drawing here of the leaf that there's a little bit that just comes out like that, so we'll include that in. And what we're going to do, same process as always. You're working in different layers, different levels. Lovely, make the one. Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for joining us. It's been great seeing some of your work, and it's been fantastic to see some of the positive feedback on it. Hope they like the Lovespoon. It was fantastic, fantastic little design. Fair play to you. It had, I tell you what, it gave me the impression, what it reminded me of was the, like the cladder, that sort of style. The cladder rings, that's what it reminded me of. That sort of inspired by that sort of Irish cladder. What do they call it? Is it a cladder ring? I'm not sure. But yeah, beautiful idea. So you can see us just starting to do the stop cuts. So the idea behind this, when I'm thinking of the leaf, and how the leaf sort of comes together. Making one of the advice for the it is indeed, sorry, yeah, I haven't answered your question properly there. Yeah, it is for, I think, if memory serves me correctly, when the person came in with this, I think the background on it is that the two people, I think they, oh brilliant, I'm right, it was the inspiration. I think the two people involved with this spoon work in the games industry, the gaming industry, which of course massively an industry that has grown hugely over the last, what shall we say, 30 years? Big business now. But, you know, we get asked to do all sorts of things, so it seemed suitable, appropriate for them, and we did the spoon design to include it, and thankfully the person who has asked us to do this, yeah, they were delighted with the idea. What I'm doing then, as you can see, I'm just getting the levels. So when I'm thinking of a leaf, this whole, what would you call this? What part of the leaf do you call this? What's the technical term? I'm not sure on that one, but basically that is always raised, that part of the leaf. I should know that. It's gone out of my head. That part of the leaf, you know, the stem and everything of the leaf, we'll call it, is always raised. So what I'm sort of thinking through is how to create that effect then. So that's why I'm doing all of the stop cuts first of all, and then I'm going to push everything around it down slightly. So that's the plan. We'll see if it works out. Now last week I know the carver knows a little bit about this because he had a panicked message from me on, I think it was last Monday or Tuesday, because for various reasons things are getting a little bit more difficult here in the UK, and I know in other parts of the world as well. For yourselves in the US, I think you're having similar problems with getting hold of things. And the problem I was having last week was that it's basically there's an education company who are the representative then of Hegner in the UK, and I contacted them for doing our normal repeat order of scroll saw blades. So I thought, yeah, brilliant. We're due now to reorder, so I put my usual order in, or tried to, and they informed me that, oh, they haven't got them any longer and they're not planning on stocking them. To which my initial response was, have you gone mad? What a crazy, crazy business decision. So we are keeping an eye to see if they do have them back at any stage. But anyway, it looks as if we're probably going to have difficulty in getting hold of those blades from the people that we bought them from for the last 20 years. But out of a bad thing, I know a great trick for raising the leaf veins. I don't know how well it would work on oak though. Sounds interesting. You'll definitely have to elaborate on that one. You'll definitely have to elaborate on that one. We got to find out about that. That sounds like a time-saving tip. Oh, we got you. You'll have to let us know with that. That sounds fantastic. I'm intrigued now. Always up for learning something that's going to save a bit of time. Is it what we call spill the beans? Let us know with that one. That sounds really interesting. Back to the scroll saw blades though. Yeah, it's basically led me on a bit of an adventure this week, exploring scroll saw blades, and I've had a bit of an education. So we've learnt a lot about scroll saw blades that I never realised before. And that's going to be some upcoming videos then, our adventures of learning all about scroll saw blades. It's taken us to sellers in Poland, also it's taken us to, where else? There's a seller in the US that it's taken us to. It's also taken us to exploring some of the options, things like Pegasus, Flying Dutchman blades. I'm still waiting for those to arrive, but I'm looking forward to testing them all out. And I've got a few videos, some talking about some of the things that I've learned or discovered, and then other things where, for instance, where I've learned about certain blades, the advantages, the disadvantages, that sort of thing. So yeah, it'll be making up quite a big chunk of videoing and filming over the next few months. So far, I don't know whether it's to my disappointment or excitement, I still find that my original recommendation is still the one that I prefer, but I have found a number of options that are perfectly respectable, and I think part of why I prefer the blade that I use is because I'm used to working with it. So yeah, that definitely plays a part in it. It's been an interesting little bit of time, and what I've also discovered, and for those of you who follow our channel, you'll know that the blade I'm referring to that we always recommend is the Nikwa No. 9 reverse tooth blade. However, one of the first things I discovered is that Nikwa do different versions of the No. 9 reverse tooth blade. And I've discovered that one of them, which again, it is designed for working in wood, but it's horrible for working in for what we do. And so that was the one I bought on eBay, but it just doesn't work for the type of scroll sawing, working in hardwoods. So that was basically how I ended up spending a lot of time researching stuff. And it's worth knowing then that the blade we recommend, it's not just a Nikwa No. 9 reverse tooth blade, it's actually a Nikwa Speed reverse tooth number 9. So there's a difference, which I did not know before. And a lot of it comes down to another video that we're looking at, and that's all on TPI, teeth per inch, which we should have known already because we find that with bandsaw blades already. I'm still intrigued to know this, the one for sorting out the leaves, because it's a challenging little process doing the leaves. So you can see we're just getting all of those little bits of detail cut out. So we're getting that depth first of all, and then afterwards basically what I'm going to do, see, we're just going to get that depth, push that leaf back, get all of that depth, get those different layers into, take a little bit out there. And again, it's that whole thing we were talking about last week where we're working in layers, getting those different levels, finding basically finding a process that works. Now you can hear in the background as well, there's Thomas the Woodcarver is hard at work. And if you're wondering what he's on to today, he is on Christmas decorations. So there's always different things going on here. We've had a few people in the workshop, so that was why we were a little bit late getting started. I was setting up and then I was carving a few initials on love spoons for people. One for a wedding, one for an anniversary. So it's good to be busy, good to be back at it, and nice to see people coming in, because it's been a long time where the workshop has been quite quiet. You see, we're just getting those different bits, and what you'll find then sometimes is I'll start off marking all of these things out, and then afterwards I might change it. I'm a carver, not an author. I thought when you mentioned it first of all, I thought this sounds like, because for anyone who doesn't know, we've had a few chats on Skype and things like that, and I'm thinking this one, when you mentioned it, I thought this sounds like a Skype conversation. This one, that sounds like one you'll end up explaining to me on Skype. But I would say you'll have to keep it as well for yourself. Don't explain it, and keep it. Do it as when you start doing your own videos, which I'm hoping will be soon. You'll have to use that as one of your first explanations. How to do detail on leaves. You can open it up by saying, don't do it. Oh, hello Lawrence. Thank you for joining us. Great to have you with us. You'll have to do, you can introduce your first one saying this is how not to do it, because there's a better way of doing it. Right, so you can see we got all of that detail. We've got that sort of stop cut, getting those what would you call them, veins? I know it's where they do the veins of the leaves. I don't know, it's the stem is down here. But what we're trying to do then is to just give that different level, get those different levels in the design itself. And we start pushing it all back. Because one thing, of course, we have to do afterwards, we have to also accommodate, when it comes to the depth that we're working at, we have to accommodate for not just the depth that we want to get on the different layers, but also when we sand off the paper afterwards. So we generally have to get a little bit more depth, a little bit of extra depth, we'll call it, because we have to make sure that we've got enough depth for when we put it on the belt sander at the end. We don't need a huge amount of depth difference, of course, between the veins and the stem and the body of the flower, because of course there wouldn't be a lot of depth difference on those two layers when you look at a leaf. But we do need that separation. So we just come in between all the different bits, and it gives us the veins raised. Another thing is worth looking at, here we go, the carver's off. Basically, you indent the shape into the piece, sand the piece down to the base of where you intended. Once completed, you just wet the areas where you push the wood down and the wood absorbs. the moisture expands back out and you have the veins. Clever stuff. That's definitely got to be one of your first demonstrations. Clever stuff. So I'm going to go through that again. I was well into typing that when you said not to, but I figured, nah, it'll be... Yeah, why? Oh, that sounds like a demonstration for you to do. Once completed, you just went in the areas. So you sand the piece, basically you indent the shape into the piece, sand the piece down to the base of where you indented. Once completed, I'm gonna have to have a good think through all of that one. But I think there you go. That's the start. That's got to be the start of the Carver's YouTube channel there. First demonstration. You can do wood carving hacks. That's one of the ones they do, isn't it? Wood carving hacks, how to do a leaf. Easy method for doing a leaf in wood. I like it. So I'm still doing it old school. Get your detail, get your levels. Cut it all down in and around. But it sounds like the carver's got a little a wood carving hack there for showing everybody a quicker method. If you do that one and you demonstrate it, I'll be the first one watching that. I will be the first one there watching, making sure if it's going to save me a bit of time, anything that you can learn, fantastic. That's the beauty of wood carving as well. You know, as you know, we do a weekly live stream carving all the time, but if I can learn something new, brilliant. It's a deal. Fantastic. We'll shake on it. Brilliant. Oh, I'm looking forward to that one. That's the thing, and that is the other thing then when it comes to wood carving. You know, we do a lot of beginner stuff and showing people how to do stuff, but we're always looking to learn. I've really enjoyed the last week exploring about scroll saw blades, and I never, whilst I'm very, I know what works for us, and I know our blades, for instance, our Nikua ones, they do a fantastic job. You've always got to be aware of it. Companies change, companies disappear. And you can't be in a situation then where you're completely reliant on that one particular blade. And, you know, we're running a business. So if something happened to that company and you're reliant on that one particular blade, that's going to really affect your business. So that is why I've been really interested to learn about different things, and my understanding then over the last week has improved. You know, at different times we buy scroll saw blades to try out and they don't work, and sometimes you don't understand quite why they don't work, and I just feel that the time that I spent over the last week has helped me to understand better what I'm looking for in a scroll saw blade. Because if you're doing similar stuff to ourselves, one thing that means you'll be looking for very specific blades is that we're working in hardwoods. And that means the demand on the scroll saw blade is different to a lot of the scroll saw blades that are out there. There's a lot of projects are being done in softwoods, in other materials as well, plywoods, MDFs, that sort of thing. So, yeah, it really does play a part in what you're doing, basically, if that makes sense. So you can see we're getting some nice sort of detail now. I love seeing the character and colour in the grain coming through. You should see nice detail on this lens. If any of you are camera nerds like myself and interested in that side of it, we're usually filming our live streams on a Sigma. It's a Sigma 24 to 70mm lens for the Sony E-mount. But today I've got the Sony, and it's the 90mm macro. And it is on the camera, and we're filming with it because it's my favourite lens for photography. But I also think it does some nice stuff with the filming as well. I just love the quality and the clarity that it gives us. Saying that, probably for yourselves watching, doesn't look much difference. But I'm enjoying working with that particular lens at this moment in time. I think it's similar when it comes to wood carving and things like that. We'll have a new gouge and you'll start enjoying working with something and go across to that one there and enjoy it, and sometimes you'll need the other one for a different job. But I enjoy macro photography, so, and I'm not one who spends a lot of time, a lot of people changing lenses every 5 minutes, and I tend to, when I change a lens, leave it on there for a little while. You can see that little bit there's just coming up, but that doesn't matter. We go back over the stop cut, because all of this has got to be pushed down anyway. Let's go back over it now, just strengthen it up. So you can see we've got a busy workshop at the moment. We're trying to clear orders. We've got one wood carving project that we've completed that wasn't a Lovespoon, which is a bit of a novelty for ourselves. And so we're working on that one at the moment. And sorry, we've just finished that one actually. So that will be coming up on the channel. That was a bit of fun too. As you can see with this one here, what we've basically done, we've done all of the stop cuts. And one thing that's going to happen, because they're such delicate stop cuts, you're going to get the odd one that's going to flake away, like we had there. Don't worry about it too much, because we get in the depth. That's what we're going to have to do first of all. And you'll go back over the stop cuts. So any ones that sort of crumble away, that do just disintegrate a little bit, don't worry about it. You'll get in the depth. So it's going to happen. And so if you are learning wood carving, because this wasn't a learner's wood carving one, but I've just noticed my title still says for learning, so so we'll have to turn it into a learner's demonstration. Yeah, it'll happen where you'll have little bits will flake away because these are so delicate, the stop cuts. So it's a really delicate job. If you don't want that, you've just got to go much more slowly and delicately as you're cutting out. But what I'm getting at is that if a little bit just cuts away that you didn't mean to, don't worry about it at this stage, because you're going to be giving more depth to the carving anyway. There we are. So you can see that those veins now are starting to be, they're being brought out, but it will be pushed back afterwards. There you go, another one there, so you can see that, because that's so delicate, that has just crumbled away just a little bit. So what do? We just find some solid wood to work from, and we're going to go back over it, just bring out that stop cut, try to strengthen it a little bit as well, reintroduce it. And it's not a big concern to me. The reason it's not a big concern to me is because I don't want a big difference when it comes to the layers. So I don't want a very, very proud layer when it comes to the veins, because it's not natural in the woods. There's only going to be a very little bit of separation. It's basically going to be marked on there, similar to what the carver was saying, but just a slightly different method that I'm using. But as I said, I'm interested in the carver's method, because that does sound interesting, and if it'll save me a bit of time, then fantastic. That's what we like. We might be able to save a bit of time here and there with our carving, because we spend enough time doing it. There we are. So we're nearly there in terms of the back level, and then we'll be working on the front level as well. So we're just taking off all of these little bits in and around, and then I'm going to go on to the next parts of the design. When we come to doing then the dragon, it's a fair amount of work on the dragon, but it's a design that we're used to doing, so that'll be fun. And the one I'm going to demonstrate there, almost like a PlayStation controller. I had a little look around for anyone who's learning and things like that. I was looking for a few images just of generic games controllers, and I had to adapt the size and shape of it. Oh, hello there. Thanks for being an inspiration. A total beginner. watching these videos. I'm sure I can achieve a lot with some basic tools and times. Greetings from Poland, by the way. Brilliant. That is one of your fellow countrymen has saved us out with our scroll saw blades. We've got some scroll saw blades coming across from Poland, thanks to help as well from the carver who gave us the name of the supplier that you managed to get hold of them from. Fantastic. Remember going to Poland many, many moons ago. Beautiful country. We went to Krakow, a beautiful city. And thank you for joining us. And if you're getting into wood carving, you made a good choice. It's great fun, fantastic material, and a fantastic process. Something that we really enjoy doing. A little bit, of course, with this one here, I always get a little bit funny with a job like this one, because we're carving in oak and we're carving a maple leaf. Learning it and applying it successfully will not save time. The end result is a natural raised area that will require minimal additional work. If it does the job, I'm always interested in knowing all about it. Yeah, this one, of course, see, we're doing a maple leaf and we're carving an oak. So there's a little bit of a contradiction there in some ways. But always, that's what was basically, that was the choice of wood for it. And to be honest with you, here in Wales, we have a little bit of field maple, and sometimes maple makes its way around the country then, but you don't actually see a lot of the maples. So oak was chosen because of its colour and its character in the grain. It does make a nice lovespoon. Nice. I don't have a scroll saw yet. Just been cutting with a jeweler's saw. Fantastic. Yeah, that'll do the job. As long as you've got something to cut out those basic profiles, and as long as it's doing the job you want it to do, brilliant. As you go along, you may find that, you know, with the stuff that you do, that a scroll saw would be a useful addition, but it just depends what type of carving you get into. If you're getting into bigger stuff, then yeah, other options may be better. If you're doing finer work, then the scroll saw certainly is useful. For instance, we have in the workshop, we got the band saw, we got the scroll saw, we got circular saw. One of our favourites working in is the coronet, and we got the different belt sanders. They all have their place. They all do a decent job for us. So there we are. You can just see we're just getting those different levels. I'm thinking what's going to happen with this one, when I go and sand it, I'm going to have to go back over all of the stock cuts. So that's where I think it might save me time from the method that was described by the carver, is because afterwards I end up having to go back over after I sand it all out. So I'm hoping, if I understand the method, which I'm looking forward to seeing, from the carver, I'm thinking that it would save myself, because of the way I carve, it'll save me a little bit of time. So we look forward to seeing it. Let's have a little look. A little bit of detail on there. And just there. Yeah, interested to know, if you're getting started with carving, what sort of things you're interested in? What sort of carving do you like doing? Great fun, great material, great process, but we're always interested in knowing what everybody else is doing. I know the carver's recently been working on a lovespoon, which has been nice to see the progress pictures. There we are. I'm going to turn that round and have a little look. I'm going to have a little bit of a sand on there. Just going to sand it down a little bit, so it's just that top level, that top layer. You've got some nice detail, some nice sort of contrast, bit of texture on there as well. And it almost, to me, looks like a little mini tree. But it's that impression, does the job, creates that simple effect of those veins in the wood itself. Just going to go over this bit. What I do, see, I keep those there, keep those lines, because when we go to sand it afterwards, if a lot of the detail goes, then we've got them there just to follow. But yeah, happy with that so far. let's go on to, oh, got an answer there, sorry. I have a couple of David Weston carving Lovespoon books. Yeah, David Weston, he's a Lovespoon carver. Let me think. Is he in Canada or America? One of the, he's in North America, I know. And I'm trying to follow along his patterns and increase complexities. Ah, lovely. Yeah, he's got quite a, like a modern sort of style that he does with the Lovespoons. Quite a unique style that he's developed. So like a modern version on the Lovespoon. Yeah, some nice ideas. Hope you enjoy following along with the book. So you can see what we're going on to here. We've just got this little heart. Myself and Dad, we were debating then with this one whether we were going to scroll saw further round, and in the end we just decided that we would do some carving around the edge as opposed to going too far with the actual scroll sawing. Also makes it a little bit stronger. But that's the sort of decision you make as you go along. Oh, that's good. It's always a good starting point as well. There's a few different books out there on the Lovespoon and things. So if it's specifically the Lovespoon you're interested in, there's a few different books and things like that out there. And they can be really useful reference points. And you can try the different designs and stuff like that, the different styles that you do. So you can just see it's just getting a little bit of depth in and around the heart. And then we're going to go around the sides of it. And then this is a popular little one that we do. This is the twist. We do it like an entwined heart. And that's a popular style that we always do. So you're just getting a little bit of depth, cutting it down into there. And you create the effect. This is a lot of what we're doing, is to create the effect of things. So what we're trying to create the effect of is the idea of over and under, over and under. Oh, well, that's good to know as well, that it is specifically Lovespoons that you're getting into carving. It's a really nice tradition, and it's a lovely process. And the nice thing with the Lovespoon is that you can incorporate different styles, different methods, different approaches that you use, and that then can you know, that can give you freedom to explore different styles of carving, different types of carving, and you can yeah, very much enjoy the process of learning carving through the Welsh Lovespoon. So you've got all those different elements of carving you can tie into the Lovespoons that you carve. So for instance, you know, you mentioned David Weston there. They do I think there's a few carvers around that do similar sort of styles where they use a lot of quite delicate pieces, that sort of thing, a lot of twists and C's and links and things like that. And those are time-consuming process, very skilled process to do some of those different things. But it's certainly, if you're learning carving, certainly gives you different challenges that you can set yourself. You know, learn how to do a link, learn how to do a seed, learn how to do a chain. Fantastic stuff to have a go at doing. Something we've demonstrated previously, but we'll have to have a little look at doing those sorts of things again. We get asked to do a lot of those. The truth is we don't do a lot of them because it's an expensive process. And you'll see a lot of Lovespoons around with links and seeds. Amazing the price that some of the spoons are being done for when it's such a time-consuming and challenging process. And it also, as well, then it requires slightly different thickness of wood and different methods that when we're doing those things, we use a slightly different methods. So what we're going to do now, we've gone round we're just working on that. We're going to push the depth, get a little bit of depth on that one as well. We go round the outside, so we're just shaping around the outside. Same again, just shaping around the outside of the other side of the heart. So generally we're using symmetry a lot, so whatever we do on the one side, we do on the other side. Exactly some of his work is almost lace-like, sorry, incredible. Good, good. I'm glad you're enjoying it. On to then the games controller. So this is obviously an important part of the design. And we start off then, we get that separation, stop cuts to bring that out, just like so. And we're just going to do a little bit then of shaping of the controller, just like so. And that's, again, we're all the time trying to give a little bit of depth to the carving and just shaping it around. Again, what we do on one side, we do on the other. And we're going to get that simple shape of the controller. So we work initially on the stop cuts that will give us the basic shape. We then do a little bit of shaping work, just like so. And afterwards, once we've got a little bit of shape, we then go on to doing the different symbols on it. So the sort of joystick part on the one side, and then the 4 buttons on the other side. And then the 2 little buttons in the middle as well. So again, we just go in the middle. I think I'm going to change gouges for that one. Yeah, that's going to be able to do that stop cut a little bit more easily. So we just shape the front of the controller. And it's a good example for when it comes to designing your Lovespoon. This is what happens. We get requests to do all sorts, everything and anything when it comes to our designs, our Lovespoons. And so one of the, if you shape it just like so, and then we're going to do some stop cuts in and around, just like so. Just thinking back as well there, I was trying to think of the carver who inspired a lot of that style, and it just came to my head now. The one to have a little look around at, Mike Davis. If you like that style, I'd say that for everybody. If you like that style of Lovespoon, that's where a lot of the inspiration came from for doing those ones. Worth having a little look. Have a look on Instagram, because Mike now shares a lot of his work. He did Lovespoons for the royal family and things like that, and a lot of that style he introduced in the 70s and 80s. So yeah, if you enjoy that, you might enjoy Mike's work, because he's done some beautiful stuff. Different, of course, from our own style, but that's the nice thing with a Lovespoon, and that's how you can develop. You can develop your own style and your own technique. But yeah, if you're interested in that, check out Mike, because he's done some beautiful things over the years. So you can see we're just getting the stop cuts for where those 4 buttons will be. And what we're doing a lot of, see, where you're creating that effect. You create that effect, and then, let's have a little look. You give it the depth, and you use your carving to create the different levels. That's going to be a bit too long. I was hoping that was going to be perfect, but not quite. And with this, one little tricky bit is possibly going to be how we're going to do the levels on the controller. That might be a little bit of a challenge. We like a challenge. Same on the other side. That's it. And a lot then, when it comes to, if you're learning to carve, a lot of what we do then, where we're doing sort of simple pictures and simple images, a lot of it comes down to doing your stop cuts. It's that basic idea. Use then the stop cut as a barrier, and then go again. Struggling to get a gouge back in. Where's he going? There he is. Let's have a look. No, tried the same one twice and still too big, so that's not going to work. Yeah, so you use the stop cut then as a barrier, and then there's sort of carving detail in and around it. So cutting down in like so. we've got all of the stock cuts once we finish this one here of our different controller symbols. Just like so. Is a good example as well when you're talking on the Lovespoons, when you're talking about these different things, of all the different styles that come into it. So for instance, we were talking earlier on with the cladder symbol. Do you think bringing some non-Welsh symbolism to Lovespoons is something bad? In my next work, I'm thinking of incorporating some folk elements from my region. No, I think it's a fantastic development. So for instance, you're talking about David Weston, so a lot of that is not, you know, those are spoons that are not made in Wales. So they're not Welsh Lovespoons, they're Lovespoons, but they're not Welsh Lovespoons. So this is how the tradition then has developed. You have similar customs, similar ideas in places in Scandinavia. There are no rules or regulations. You don't have to restrict yourself. If you've got symbols from your region, fantastic. It makes it more specific to you, and it gives it your own identity, which is one of the most important things. And you know, that is the tradition now. It can incorporate all sorts of symbols and ideas. So what you're actually doing is you're spreading the tradition, you're sharing it, you're enhancing it in many ways. So whilst the Lovespoon, you know, it originates from here in Wales. We have the earliest dated Lovespoon, 1667, here in Wales. We claim it as a Welsh tradition. Don't give yourself any restrictions like that. It's an open tradition. It's there for everybody to enjoy. So there are modern styles of Lovespoon. You'll see spoons now. There are people here in Wales that are using all sorts of modern techniques and things like that into their Lovespoons. You do what is right and comfortable for yourself, and don't sort of put barriers in your place. Exactly what I was going to say, as the carver said, like putting the cladder symbol on the top, spot on. Games controller, you know, you wouldn't have a games controller in the 17th century. So that's the beauty of the Lovespoon. It adapts, it evolves. So what you're talking about there, you know, that style of Lovespoon that was introduced back in the 70s and 80s by Mike Davis, that inspired a lot in that style. That was a more modern, it was a more sort of artistic take on it, and yeah, great. It's an interesting version on it. It's artistic, it's creative, and it just shows how the Lovespoon has that ability to adapt and evolve, and you can then put more of your identity, more of your personality into your work. I personally think it's better doing stuff like that than you know, copying originals, copying early designs and things like that. I think it's better to put more of yourself into what you're doing, because it creates a uniqueness and an individuality in your work. It's an artistic thing in a way. I mean, I'm no artist myself, but what you're doing is an artistic process and it's expression. So if you've got symbols in your region, that sounds fantastic. Put them into your spoons, and you're developing then your own style and putting your own stamp and your own personality into your work. It's fantastic. It's basically taking inspiration, which is what the early carvers did. They took inspiration from all sorts of things around them. So you'll see a lot of early Lovespoons have got nautical themes. So things like ships and ships' wheels. You've got, what else have we got? There's things like, one of the early Lovespoon symbols is the Egyptian soul sign. Not really got any place in the Welsh tradition, but obviously a sailor was carving a Lovespoon, saw the symbol, thought it was suitable. So yeah. We've got Thomas the Woodcarver's just come in off the scroll saw.
Oh boys.
We're talking Lovespoons and talking about including different symbols. We've got a gentleman here from Poland.
Right.
And he started getting into Lovespoon carving, and he's been following David Weston's book.
Right.
And he was just asking us about, do you think it's, not right including non-Welsh symbols? He's interested in including symbols typical to his region. I was saying no, it's absolutely acceptable because it's a love spoon, and it's how the tradition, you can incorporate all sorts of different things in, haven't you?
Well,
Yeah. We were just talking a bit about that style of spoon that he's following. It was Mike Davis did it first, wasn't it?
Mike Davis, yeah.
Yeah.
He was very good. Well, I think he's still going. Isn't he?
He's still going, Mike. We follow Mike on Instagram. It's worth get on his Instagram and have a look at Mike's work, because if you're looking, if you're interested in artistic and all the rest of it, he did some great stuff, and it did inspire a lot of people. Different to our own style, though. This is where basically I think that's our message to people. Our style has always been a bit different to anything else, and so
it's what you're comfortable with, what you enjoy doing. There aren't, that's the nice thing about it.
There's not the rules and regs, is there?
No rules and regulations about it.
No.
You can.
You got that freedom.
Yeah.
Great. That's why it's such a great tradition. Now the carver was telling me I told him he'll have to do a video on it. He's got an interesting method for doing the flowers. Doing the leaves, doing the veins on it.
All right.
I'll have to scroll back up and show you what he was saying.
Perhaps is he using one of these? Where is it?
It was a different process altogether to what I've always used. I'm always interested in new techniques, new ideas.
That'll be the boy here. That one there, perhaps.
Well, here we are. Thomas the Woodcarver's turned up. He's got a different approach again. He's got the V-shaped gouge, so scoring it with
would you call it a veiner, perhaps that?
Possibly.
Yeah. Yeah. It's.
Now I always think though, because I've seen it done using that technique.
Yeah.
It's. Thanks for not gatekeeping. No, absolutely. It's open tradition. Get in there, have a go. Once you're designing your own spoons, I always think that's when you're really getting involved in the tradition.
What sort of things would Polish?
Let us
motifs?
know. What sort of motifs have you got in mind? That'll be fascinating. What sort of motifs are local to yourself?
Have they got a native flower? That would be relevant. Or a particular tree with a shaped leaf.
It's fascinating to know.
And I know something we had in common with Poland, of course, was coal mines.
Yeah. South Wales and Poland, both strong coal mining areas. It's interesting when you start talking about these things as well, because in my wife being from Barcelona, being from Spain, one symbol they like a lot, and interestingly is popular here at the moment, and another place that it's a national symbol for is the Ukraine, and that's or I think maybe Kiev, the capital, or something like that, is the sunflower.
Ah, yeah.
And so that is something then that we've been doing on spoons recently, is including the sunflower in the design. But that's the essence of the love spoon. When you're talking about these different carvers, so for instance, you're referring to David Weston, we refer to Mike Davis and things like this. That's the thing with it, is that you can develop a style that is unique and individual to yourself, as they've done, and you can go from there. There's other ones over the years that have.
Yeah, what's the? Oh no, I'm thinking of goulash. Is Hungarian, isn't it? That's a different thing. I was thinking that,
Well, let us know. What symbols have you got in mind? It'd be great to know. Yeah, miners' equipment can also be used. Geometry patterns. That's interesting. Depictions of farm animals as well. Yeah, brilliant. We've done that. Sheep and cows.
Yeah.
You'll have to have a look at some of our old live streams and things. We've done a few of those. So yeah, all suitable. And then last week we were doing. That was the closest we've ever done to like a. What do you call it? Geometric shape was the crane, but that's basically we our own thoughts on it. Yeah, no rules and regs. Just do whatever you want with it. Really, that is the real essence of getting into Lovespoon carving, I think, is when you're doing your own thing and you're doing your own style, then you're really getting going. So for instance, the carver with that cladder spoon, brilliant. Here's an example. And so you can, you know, if you had a symbol like that, then you're designing something unique, original, and that is really the Lovespoon then. But we get, you know, we get that a lot of requests for all sorts. I got one request at the moment that I'm working on with a sheep and a cow on it. And you'll find all sorts, isn't it?
Yeah, and you can portray, for instance, a sheep. You know, there are different ways to portray the sheep. You can just do the actual sheep.
Yeah.
You could maybe
carve a woolly jumper.
Even a ball of wool or something like that.
Yeah.
You know, you're not. Nothing is sort of set in concrete.
Well, at different times, like when you refer to a sheep, I can think of three different ones that I've done. I've done like a logo, so like somebody's logo. I've done a cartoon style sheep, and then a more realistic one. So those are three examples, straight off the hoof.
Yeah.
Off the hoof sheep.
Yeah. I think that's more.
That's sheep's got a hoof, isn't it?
I know, but you know, you're stretching it a bit there now.
I'm sure sheep's got a hoof.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
I'll keep the jokes under wraps.
Oh, I'm going to tell you what you would do. I mean, you could do a ram's, you know, the horns of a ram.
Yeah.
That would make it would almost be Celtic.
Yeah.
You know, with the twist at the top, for instance. But you could see how you're not.
Well, that's a good example of where we're sort of talking when it comes to the Lovespoons then. I know this beginner's guide has turned very much into a Lovespoon chat, but there's nothing wrong with that. We've always got time to chat Lovespoons. Celtic symbols. Now that's something that we probably use more than anybody. Got no links really with the Lovespoon tradition.
No, not really.
But we're a Celtic nation here in Wales.
But
so why not?
If you speak to people that have made spoons since 1960,
well, it was even
read books, they'd say, "Oh yes, this is a Celtic design."
Well, this is interesting because there we are. You were referring to books. There was a book, a very successful and popular book around the Lovespoons, and I think it was called Celtic Lovespoons.
Right.
Well, there's traditionally there's no such thing.
No.
So that is a modern thing, but it was ever so popular. And then, we have a lot of people say, oh, I love Celtic spoons. They're Welsh love spoons. They're not Celtic spoons. The Celts didn't make love spoons that we know of. We have got no record of that. But it's a nice development. It's a nice adaptation because the symbols and things like that with the Celts, they're fantastic. They have brilliant meanings.
Well, I mean, one of the most interesting things, really, you see a lot on love spoons are the Welsh feathers.
Absolutely, yeah.
Well, I mean,
German words
the emblem
on the Welsh feathers.
It represents Germany. So
yeah,
and yet you see a lot of spoons with Welsh feathers carved on them.
I'm glad there's appreciation for my dad joke there. They're called dad jokes, eh?
Yeah.
Die as dad jokes today. There we are. We're in good spirits.
Oh, very good.
You haven't heard that word, with dad jokes?
Dad jokes? No.
They're dad jokes, like embarrassing jokes.
Well, you know what rhymes with dad?
Embarrass. What's that?
Sad.
Oh, there we are.
So if they're dad jokes, they're usually sad jokes.
Well, you know what else rhymes with dad?
Dad. Bad jokes.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go. There's nothing wrong with a... Not wrong. Oh, we're getting north of England now. Yeah. There's nothing wrong with a dad joke.
Well, it's quite. Although you say about the north of England, you see, occasionally we get sort of certain words that we link with Newcastle and Sunderland.
Yeah.
The boat. I call it a boat. Always have done. A boat.
And they say Y-I man, and around here they say
Y-A
Bay.
They say Y-I man.
Y-A Bay.
Yeah.
That's what they say around here.
So it's all very interesting.
So you can see we're progressing through this design. What's your thoughts on it so far? There we go, that's what we got to. Bit more work left on there, isn't there?
Yeah, it's not bad.
Oh, that's high praise. Yeah. That means we're on the right track. We get a not bad. That's like top of the class. High praise indeed.
I think what is important, I mean, and it, especially, you know, you get this sort of hour or so to carve, and you know, share the tradition, but it's really something that enjoyment, isn't it? Yeah.
Well, I think because we talked about different things. Kid equals dad, I'm hungry. Dad equals hi, hungry, I'm. Yeah, brilliant. We can have the feed filled up now with dad jokes. Fantastic. I think what we really need to say, if you're getting into making love spoons, and if you're you know starting that journey, you've made a fantastic decision, and it doesn't matter what style, you know, what inspiration. If you like a particular carver and a particular style, and a particular approach to love spoon carving, fantastic. Follow it, pursue what you like. And one of the most important things, what we always emphasize, don't worry too much about the carving. So you want to do nice carving, yeah, but the main thing we encourage people to think of, what's the story, what's the meaning, what is your love spoon about? What do you want to, and what do you want to say through the work that you do? It's the message and the story, isn't it? Yeah. That's what we've always sort of put forward. And then, you know, like, why do we do live streams and things like that? Well, hopefully some of the things we do might be useful references if you get stuck, if you're having problems, if you're having difficulties, and it might give you ideas then to pursue it.
Yeah, on the leaf there.
Yeah.
Is it a maple leaf or?
It is.
It is a maple leaf.
Yes.
So has it got a Canadian connection as well?
I'm thinking there's a Canadian-Welsh connection.
Right.
But it's a bit strange for me because we're carving the maple leaf on a piece of oak.
Right.
But we haven't got a lot of maple, and I mean oak's a lovely colour. It's not the first time I've done this, and there's no rules or regs. It's just how my brain works, where I think maple leaf, I think maple. Maple as well. If you ever carve that one, that's not a timber you particularly like, is it? Did you find that one a bit hard? You like sycamore, don't you?
Yeah, well, it's okay. The difficulty with the sycamore, we find difficult drying it.
Absolutely.
If you're not careful, you get this black dust on it.
Yeah. There's a car just gone whizzing past the window. That's Yuddy back. She's just got back from the school with the boys.
Yeah, it's a good job. There's a wall next door to us, isn't there?
Yeah, one day she's going to go through that one. We live next door, so one day she's going to park straight in there. So yeah, it's a maple leaf, but it needs, what do you reckon, a bit of work on there, yeah, isn't there?
Again, that is the point. It's where how far you go with it.
Well, the other thing with it as well, when it's shellacked, we'll have a better idea of whether we've got work to go on it or not. Basically, the difficulty I always think with the leaves, that's why I was interested in what the carver was saying. He said he's got a technique there to consider. The difficulty with the leaf, you want the impression of the veins, but you don't want it too high. So you don't want it too separate, the levels from the leaf, and you want a bit of texture to it as well. Yeah. So those are some of the things I think.
To be honest with you, it's easy to look at it and say, I'm looking at it now, Dave, and I'm thinking, yeah, if you'd started that and you chiseled out, say, a full 1/8 of an inch, before you even start putting the veins in, but with hindsight, and the fact that I'm coming in now, when you're sort of halfway through the job, it's sort of very easy.
So what you're saying there, you think we should put a bit more depth on it, is it?
Well, because I'm looking at it from the bottom of the spoon up.
Yeah.
So the problem is I can see the thickness of that leaf.
Okay.
So I'm going to point to everybody. I can see under there, because I can see that little bit. In fact, if I turn the spoon around for you, right? If I just take it out of the vise.
Oh, fine.
Here we are. This is now the old man being real awkward. You see? If you look at it like, can you see now? You can see the bottom bits there.
Yeah.
So, you know, you tend to think then, oh, a leaf is thinner than that.
So you want me to carve that as thin as a leaf?
Because, you know,
this demonstration could go on a while.
But that's the point. Where do you stop? Where you know, because if you carve it as thin as a leaf, then it's going to be very weak.
Yeah.
So again, we come back to that word. It's an impression.
So do you think I should carve some more depth on it?
The thing is, it's extra work, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah.
You know, it's all very well, but it's and again, it's quite a classic case of, you know, somebody coming in now. You know, we had a comment on the spoon recently.
Has that made any difference?
Ben?
Has that made any difference?
Yes, that's not bad. Yeah.
Tell me now. Tell me now with it. See if
I think so.
I'm thinking of the angle you're looking at.
Yeah, because I'm looking at it at a different angle that you are.
See,
and I'm not doing the work.
All I'm getting at, if I push that down, that down a bit, you can't look behind it as easily.
Yeah.
There you go.
So, and again, you know, the thing is now, you want to go deeper now with that vein.
Absolutely.
Oh, look out, Nico.
Hello, Nico. You had a good day in school?
This is the big schoolboy.
Good,
have a good day, Nico? Yeah.
Good. You been a busy boy?
What did you learn today? What did you learn today?
There we go. That's
Nothing.
Oh, there we are then.
nothing. There we are. Another successful day in school.
That's the whole idea of school.
Apart from, I don't remember this.
There we are. Well, that was a good day. Well spent.
Actually,
He learnt nothing.
I don't remember. I did learn what aliens call dogs, but now I don't remember.
What aliens call dogs?
Aliens call dogs.
Yeah.
Doglings?
Yeah.
There you go. Daddy learnt it then. Huh? Oh, another one on his way. Hello, Sammy. The boys are back from school.
All right, Sammy.
Yeah.
And what did you learn in school today?
I think I saw another comment.
What did you learn today?
Oh, there's another comment. The leaf looks bad. Oh, thank you, Ben. Much appreciated.
So?
Yeah.
We get in there with it. We get in there with it. We're making progress. So you see, we're onto the dragon.
Does anyone know about backgrounds?
Backgrounds?
Yeah.
Depends what context. There we are. So you can see we're just doing the markings on the front of the dragon. And we're going to do some detail. We're just pushing we're just putting some detail on the different ones. Look, you can just see Nico.
Come here, Nico.
There you go. That's Nico waving to everyone. Right.
Easy enough.
There we are. So you can see we're just getting all of those stop cuts. So as we would normally do on the dragon.
Does anyone know about Siren Head?
Oh, I'm sure somebody will. And you'll have to say the carver as well, because we did some research, didn't we, on Navy Corpsman, didn't we? Remember? We watched the videos. So yeah, next time you speak to him, you'll have to tell him all about it.
What's the other thing?
What was the other thing?
Yeah, with Navy in it. About people that have been...
We looked at the Marines.
Yeah.
We were finding all the background on it. So you can see what we're doing as well now. We're getting the different depth, the different layers, the different levels to the carving. So we're just pushing that down a little bit. And then what do we got? Yeah, different shaped and sized gouges. So we do this line of stop cuts along here. And the reason that we do, no, that's going to be too big. Reason we do that is we can use the other things to shape it. Hello, Sammy.
You have to get another a bit small one because
It was too big, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Spot on. So there we are, a few words of wisdom from the other side of the bench there from Sammy.
What was too big?
He was explaining to everyone, I picked up this one, so that was too big. So he's explaining to everybody, oh careful Nico, you have to have a smaller one, because if it's too big, what you got to do? You've got to have a smaller gouge. Spot on. Just check that one's all still clear. We had a kick tripod, so I hope you can all see everything. It's all still in focus. So what we're doing now, we're getting the different levels when it comes to the dragon. And I'm also again planning for when we sand everything afterwards, taking the levels down. Why do we put that on the floor? Because that's the bag that I keep my computer in.
I don't think so. Thank you.
There we are.
What is this?
So you can see the...
It's used to mark a line. See, let me show you. If you come around here, Nico.
So in today's live stream, you're seeing this is a typical workshop where we've got Gramps in it. We've got two boys.
Look, you're coming. See, look. See, you put that down there, look. And then
Here we
mark
are.
the line down there.
And now Gramps is teaching them how to score a mark. What are you using there, Gramps? A marking gauge?
Yeah, there we are.
There we are.
This would be a good one for anybody.
We did a video using that.
Hey?
We did a video on
Oh,
that
you've done
one.
a video on it.
Here we
For
are.
anybody that hasn't done it, there we are.
There you go.
Let me get a better piece of wood, though, Dave.
It's one of our videos. So it's a homemade marking gauge. So all you do, you unscrew it or screw it further in, and if you want to do a line, you mark it with the side of the screw.
Mark it on the side of there. Perhaps it'll come up.
There we are.
Daddy, are the wooden bits
Yeah,
of the
spot on.
gouges and chisels
A
made
homemade
out of you?
marker gauge, courtesy of Gramps.
Did you and Daddy make the wooden bits of the gouges and the chisels?
No,
No.
some of those gouges are over 100 years old, Nico, and those are the original handles.
Yeah, some of those are nearly as old as Granny.
There we are.
Daddy, have you got the old one there? Well, if Granny's
Yeah,
old, you're old.
that's right.
Granny.
we
Because
are.
I heard that you're older than Granny.
Oh, very good. There we are.
You're giving away all the secrets now.
But do I look as old as Granny?
No.
Don't tell Granny, because you won't get any more sweets off Granny.
Wow.
So, as you can see, we're getting those different levels, those different layers. And as we're going on as well, we're just getting that little bit of detail on it. Reason then this is slightly easier is because the dragon's really popular symbol that we include on Lovespoons, and it's something that we are carving all the time. So we just drop that level down, like so, and you can just get a little bit of depth on this side of it as well. And afterwards then, after we've got the levels, we can then add the little bits of detail. So we're going to turn it round in the vise, like so. We're going to get that back wing pushed back, so just like so. And it's just creating the impression.
You just mentioned Granny. We won't do it this week.
3
but
dimensions.
Next week, perhaps we'll tell the story of the dragon.
Well, yeah. I mean, here we are for
We
everybody
won't
to
do it
know.
this week,
Well, no, I
we'll-
just explained the background on it. Nico and Sammy's granny, yeah, she's written some different children's books. She's just published her 3rd children's book, and dragons feature in the story. And to give the background, it's based around where you grew up, isn't it, Gramps?
Yeah, Castle Cork.
Casteth Coch, the Red Castle.
We'll do it in more detail next week, perhaps.
Yeah, we'll explain a bit about what we've done. That's what the workshops here has allowed us to do. We can do all sorts of things like that and tie it in with the workshop and the work that we do. It ties in great. All sorts of things that we're interested in, like the photography, writing the books. We've done all sorts of things like that over the years.
In fact, I think I better pop up to the post office.
Okie
I
dokie.
got this. Boys, come on.
There we are. So, you can just see we're getting the different layers on the carving of our dragon. And we've carved the one way, and then we're going to carve back the other way. But as we mentioned, all of this, when we're losing the detail, we can add that back in afterwards. It'll be the same with the leaf. We may go a little bit deeper. And again, you'll lose the detail, but you can include it in afterwards. And everything's gone quiet. Sent you a photo to the Instagram. The end result is subtle, but with a leaf it's supposed to be. Brilliant. We will have a look. Sounds interesting. We look forward to seeing the method at some stage too. Fantastic. So we're just finishing off now, dropping the feet down. One thing with this, when you're cutting it, when you're sort of scroll sawing it as well, the feet are, the toes and things are delicate, so just go slowly and carefully when you're working on the feet of the dragon, because it's easy just to break the toes and then you've got a problem. But it's these little bits of detail that really add an extra element to the carving. I always try and cut, when I cut them out, I try to leave a little bit of extra thickness. Don't go too fine when you're cutting out the toes, because we end up breaking the dragon's toes otherwise, which is never good. So we're just dropping that level down this way, and then again, once we've got the levels this way, we'll probably turn it back around and get the levels going the other way. So a love spoon like this one then, for any of you again who are interested in it, it starts off where somebody will contact us and they will tell us the things that they want on the love spoon, and you know, we'll give them an idea when it comes to sizes, the sort of costs involved in designing and making. We'll design something for them to see. We ask about things like the wood colour they prefer, and then you're on to the carving process. So we do preparation. So in next door, you're working with things like the scroll saw. We can take the bulk of the bowl out using a router and template, and then hand carve it all back out afterwards to give the different bits of depth and detail. We then hand carve it all, hand sand it, and then hand finish it. So that's our normal sort of working process. And look, Daz has come back in. I'll sort the labels out in a bit for those.
Yeah, don't worry, it's fine.
We get the labels.
Now.
He's just got some. We got some orders there from the weekend that we got to get in the post. So Dad's having a little look at sorting through them. Right. So now we're getting towards having our levels. We then turn our minds back to the detail. So we've got a little bit of finishing off at the levels, but the detail, and I find with the dragon now, because I carve them so frequently, I'm usually carving at least one dragon a week, so something that we're used to doing, and then I tend to remember where all the detail goes. There we are. So we angle that wing back, and I'm going to get a little piece of fine sandpaper. That one there will do it. There's a yawning Thomas the woodcarver in the background now. Busy on the scroll sword and with a few people in the workshop as well, so not surprising. So sand it all back down, like so. And one of the first things when it comes to putting the detail on the dragon, we work on the face. And again, I'm going to come around the surround, a little bit of depth. It does help out, taking a little bit of depth off your surround So when you start carving the detail, it just reduces your chances of slipping and catching and spoiling a little bit of the detail that you've done. And it reduces, it just gives you as well, makes it easier. So for instance, where you're doing the claws and the feet, just makes it easier to get in there. So just drop that level down of your surround. We get asked at different times as well when it comes to the surround. Different people almost ask us to remove it. And the problem is you can't, because that's what gives the design its strength. So sometimes we do a design for people, and what they do is they come back and they say, oh yeah, we like the design, but can you take out this bit of the surround, or can you take out the surround? And it doesn't work, because as most of you will know, wood, you need that strength. You need strength in the design, because we're always thinking of in the future and getting it to last the generations we hope to come. So let's just start going back over the detail of the face. So starting off, just get a little bit more depth on the tongue. Spiky tongue. And then the next thing, taking a bit more out of there, so you just have to take a bit more out of that side. Okay, next part, we need a spike. There's a spike, it's at the end bent over, but it'll do the job. Just like that. So a little dot onto the eye. And the way we do an eye, we do one cut with our Sorby micro carving gouge, cutting it the one way, back the other way. So that's like almost like an eyeball, that bit. And then this bit is the top of the eye, just like so. Then we use that little teeny tiny gouge, shape the bottom of the eye. You've then got a straight chisel for a little bit of detail. If you have a look on the Pendragon, there's just a tiny little bit of detail in by the ear. And then there's lots of, don't know, what would you call them? Are they scales, dude, on the dragon? You know, on its scales on the front of it. Yeah. So it's a scaly dragon. Just re-go over those like so. And they're on the front of sort of its chest. They also then go on all of the legs and the front paw as well. So the way it goes on here, and this is where this little micro gouge is fantastic. Because it just does all of these little bits of fine detail, and that's what's really going to give your carving lots of character. We're then going to go on to, this front leg, and there's scales down the front of this one, 1 and 2, just like so. So it's those stock cuts, cutting down into it, and then cutting into that edge, using it as a barrier. Right, from here then, we start doing the detail that goes just under the wing. So you can see there's a bit of wood just shifting across, so take that away. It's just on the grain, just stripping it a little bit there. It's the same, that bit there. Just like so, and below the wing then you've got again the little indents, those scales, just like so. So you use the gouge for doing the stock cuts, use the reverse edge just to do a little bit of fine detail. On the toes then, this gouge is fantastic. So on the back one, we just cut it down a little bit like that. This one here, you've got to go really delicately because that's not attached to anything, so it's really easy to snap that off. So you just take a little bit of depth, just like so. The middle one, same, go quite delicately. This bottom one, not such a problem because it's attached, so there's a bit more strength in the wood. But the ones where they're loose, the same on the front claw. There, it's not as delicate, these ones. Still got to go carefully, but they're not as delicate because the grain is running vertically as these ones here, because it's a horizontal, you know, grain. You're cutting across the grain. It's more easy to snap those off. This one as well, that's stronger because it's attached top and bottom. Another one there. You just need to go a little bit carefully, but not as bad as these ones where you're going across the grain. Same, just cut in like so. And we'll do the bottom one there. They're stronger because they're attached to the solid. These ones. It's interesting, isn't it? It's little things like that. You don't always think about it, where you have to go more delicately on these claws because they're cross grain and they're not attached. So these ones that are cross grain at the bottom, because they're attached to the solid, they are stronger. But the ones that are free, because they're not attached to anything, you have to go ever so slightly delicately. So we just cut down there like so. It's these cuts you've got to be very delicate with. Into that. So on the feet then, you've got two levels. You've got one level for the foot itself and another level for the claw. 1, 2, 3. There we are. So that's the... And if you do have, look, that one there has just gone down a bit further than the others. What we do, we just match the others up to it. So we just push the other. It's just a little bit of wood has splintered away. So just drop the depth on the other ones just to match it. Covering what would be a little mistake, really. Right, the last little bits of detail. We've got to do all of the scales on here. And then I'm thinking you're ready nearly there with the shellac.
Yeah, you know, it'll show, it'll sharpen it up so people can see it a bit clearer.
Yeah. Oh, I missed a few messages. The link was broken. Here's a better one. Oh no, we haven't got the links are not coming through there. I would have to keep my super glue handy when I'm carving. Look, yeah, it's a delicate one. It is. I'm not sure what's happening with the links there. They're not coming through on my screen. You'll have to. They should come through. I don't know why that's not come through. Be good to see what you're doing there. Be interesting. So you can see those little bits of all those scales. And as Dad said, we put some shellac on it just so you can see it a bit better.
Which is a good tip for anybody, you know, so that...
Well, if you're learning carving again, isn't it? Put some shellac on.
Yeah, because it won't sort of, nothing will spoil. You can, it just gives you an idea of what the finished product is going to look like. Yeah.
And it gives you an idea of, you know, what might need to be done.
Yeah.
On the carving.
And of course, there are always two schools of thought as well, as far as finishing, either finishing with sandpaper or glass paper, as people call it.
Yeah, smooth finish or off the gouge.
Or when you finish off the chisel.
Yeah.
Again, there isn't a rule or...
No, absolutely. There's no right or wrong.
No.
You very much have to...
especially that leaf part now, you know, that needs...
Well, we want texture on the leaf, don't we?
It needs a shellac to see exactly.
To see where we are with that.
Yeah.
And sometimes as well, you'll think you're way off with a carving, and then you'll put some shellac on it, and you'll think, oh, that's not bad.
Not as far away
And
as
the
you
other thing that can happen is that you can think, yeah, spot on, and you do put your shellac on, and it brings out things that you didn't realise. So it is well worth putting the shellac on because it'll.
Good lighting is very important, really. You know.
Yeah.
It's.
Well, for the live stream, see, I got good lighting on here because one thing we have fluorescent style tubes, but they're all LED ones because it's better for the filming, so it doesn't pulse. But it's better lighting generally, and then I also bring in. Actually, we turn it on and off. There's the button. There we are. So if I turn it off, and then it'll take a moment to warm up. That's basically what's called a Rotto light. It's the Rotto Light 2 Neo 2, sorry. And it's an LED light, and it's really good then for giving extra light on your subject. May not have come across properly on filming. I would have to keep this. I definitely have some. I'd simplify the design to fit my level of skill. Yeah, it's basically adapting and doing. Well, on that subject, why didn't you bring in the simplified dragon? We do exactly that ourselves. We have two different dragons because.
I got one, yeah.
Yeah, we got one. They're on the internet. They're on the internet board. So yeah, when you're talking about that, we actually do two different versions of the dragon because of course this one has got a lot of detail. It's the most popular of the two that we do. But what you'll find is that sometimes people go, oh yeah, no, I want the dragon, and then they haven't got the budget to include this one. So we actually offer a simplified version because there's a lot of detail on this particular one. So we offer two different styles, and that's what you do. You can offer different ones, different styles, and gives you more variety to what you do. No rules or regs, as we said. No right or wrong. Here we go. That one there. Here we are. So, yeah. There you go. That's our other style of dragon. So we're much more simple.
Different timbers.
Yeah, and that's it in mahogany.
And you can explain why we do those two different timbers because on the internet, I think you've explained before.
Yeah, you can get consistency of in those two woods, oak and mahogany. We have a consistent supply available to us, fairly consistent anyway.
And it's not too much variation.
And when it comes to the wood, then that's right. And generally, what we do is. For instance, you get variations massively in the oak, but generally speaking, we use a piece of oak when we're photographing a standard, simple piece of oak, and then occasionally you get one with nice character, an unusual grain, but it just adds something extra to the carving if you get one of those.
The other thing as well is good for us is that we do the dragon and we're competing with CNC.
Yes.
So
the dragon's going to be a complicated one for a CNC machine to do, isn't it?
So it's going to be fairly, what you would say, stylized as a
quite possibly
a CNC machine,
Yeah. Very difficult for. Well, it's possible. It's all possible, isn't it? And you'll see I see now the Welsh dragon here in Wales. They use it a lot on all sorts of different products. But if they're using it on wooden items, the kind of thing they do, they'll paint it in using pyrography. So anything that I've seen hasn't been able to replicate all the detail, the fine detail that we can do when it comes to hand carving. It's like, for instance, if you want a certain style, if you want a proper sort of hand carved thing, it's amazing that. They still can't replicate it really because we did that phoenix carving, and if they could get that done cheaper and easier and all the rest of it, they would, but they can't. It can't replicate those skills. So
well, especially, you know, if they wanted 100 of those, well, even that would be difficult, because to set a CNC machine up, you want to be producing, I would guess, thousands, not.
Well, it's something of that complexity, isn't it? They'd want to be producing high volumes. So I'm just going to finish off coming around there, and the last thing I'm going to do, I'm just going to try and sand off. I'm just going to try and sand off the paper that is left. Got a few little splinters there that need to come away. I'm going to try and sand off.
I got a coarse. Do you want that new coarse?
I've got a 180 here that I've been using a little bit, and it should. I haven't worn it out too much. All it is, I just want to sand off the buttons here.
Shall I emphasise as well? You wouldn't normally do that. You put a block in under.
Yeah, if you're sanding properly, you put a block on, but we're going quick, so you just take it off quickly, just using hand sanding.
It probably would come off easier with a block here.
Probably, yeah. Oh, definitely, yeah.
Oh, you need a block.
You got a block there?
There we are.
There we are. That's what we need. We need a block. Right. That's better. That's what we wanted. So all it is because we're going to put shellac on. Ideally, I don't want to be putting the shellac on the paper. You don't want to sort of push it into the wood any more than is necessary. I am going to go back to, apologies to the purists, but I am just going to try and take that off. It's because it's slightly shaped. Right, pretty much as good as we get it for now. Coat of shellac on there, I think.
There we are.
There we are. So you got the brush. Now my usual trick when I do this is to go and put too much on the brush. Do you think I should sand that a bit more with the paper, or is that probably alright, isn't it?
Ah, it should be alright. You got to go over it again, haven't you?
Now my usual trick is to put too much on the brush, which yeah, I've pretty much done. Why do I always do that? I'm gonna have to. That's one thing I'm gonna have to learn how to do. Not to put too much onto the brush before I start shellacking. There's an annoying bit of wood. Where's that spike gone? There's a little splinter down there that I don't want to get stuck onto the wood with the shellac. Hook it out. There he goes. And we've done all of that. Now the moment of truth. Our leaf. Yeah, that's not far off.
No.
That's not far off. Once you shellac it, so you bring out that detail and you start to see it. There we are. What we've got to do from there, we've got to carve down here. We've got to carve our surround to shape all of that. We've also then got to do the twist on the stem. And then we've got to finish off the bowl, hand sanding onto the shellacking, and that's job done. So we've got dragon, controller, entwined hearts, and then afterwards we got that leaf, that maple leaf. Thanks again for joining us. Hope you've enjoyed that. We certainly have. Yeah, great fun. We'll be back as always next week. We'll be with a live stream. Thank you for the feedback as well. I'm glad it's looking good there. We'll be back again next week as well with a live stream, all going well. Any questions or anything though, anything you want to know, give us a shout. That link as well, I don't think that came through to me. So if you want to, there's our email address and things like that. You're welcome to email it to us or put it in a comment. They usually come through. But yeah, hope you all have a good week and we will speak to you all soon. Thanks again.